I'm out.
So you're a handful of very efficient surgeon making a surgery that's a hospital surgery in a surgery center. Tell me a little about your personal experience about how your environment received you, because I have the same. You have noticed I'm more vocal about it, and I get more heat probably than anybody.
Yeah, well, I mean,
tell me about
that's a skill set that I wish I had. I don't advocate very well, and you're doing a great job of that with things like this, and I commend you for that. Even to some degree, the corporate sponsorship has dropped off, and you've picked up with that beautifully to try to keep this procedure going. I feel a little bit guilty that I didn't help you more along the way. But yeah, it's massive pushback. It's any and everyone who's got an axe to grind about MIS or they've had a bad complication. It's so very easy to throw a dart. And, after a while, you get kind of tired of being the target to some degree.
It's grinding.
It is. It's death by 1,000 lashes, right? It's not the one. It's the little, the little continued negative pushback instead of what I would think in my kind of, I guess, idealistic mind is, I'm going to engage this and I'm going to listen to what you have to say. And then if it's better, I'm going to stick with it. If it's not, I'm going to help you understand or help myself understand why it's not better. But that's not what we ran into. What we ran into is just that can't work. And you're a bad person and you're doing crazy stuff. And then you've heard it, you're experimenting on patients. And
the sky is green because no amount of evidence, a picture of the sky is not good enough. Taking their hand, showing the sky is not good enough. Sky is green, no matter.
Don't introduce facts and logic into my argument.
Yes, exactly. I can give you a good news though. Two good news. I was with a surgeon who would advertise himself and be proud of being maximally invasive surgeon. A surgeon who would be proud that he can do this 12-hour surgery with a massive opening and so on and so forth. That surgeon in 2016 converted after 5 years, after 2016, 2017, after he watched for 4.5, 5 years, that it really makes an impact on patients' outcome. And he thanked me 3 years after he joined us that said, Hamid, I cannot really thank you enough. It is 3:00. I haven't done with all my cases, and 2 of them are going to be discharged today, so I don't have to round on them a whole week. I would be until 8:00 in the OR. And by the way, I don't have to round until next week because of the hospital, because they are going home. For 5 years, he fighting me, he thanked me for this transition. So eventually, I think the truth has its own way to establish itself. And this is, we are in medicine, we are conservative for a reason. As you said, this works. Why should I change? I know what the complication profile of this is. I stick with that. But what of the biggest point for this transition was in my office is that people would come and ask to be seen by me. Yes. Patients have taken it in their own hand now. And people like Amanda did like this podcast. This is where I decided we have to go to public. We have to go to the patient because that is the grandma of somebody
that's the way around that institutional mentality. The institutional mentality is a self-fulfilling prophecy or self-fulfilling argument because the surgeon you're using as your example there, his honor, identity, his red badge of courage is, I do these massive surgeries. I have 2-liter blood loss, and I'm not a hand surgeon. I'm not I'm not taking out gallbladders, by God. I'm doing complicated life and death stuff. And then here comes guys like you and I going, well, you don't really have to do that. If you do this.
Yeah.
And they don't like that. That's unpalatable. And I think what the industry has helped with is making this argument that MIS TLIF is a more difficult surgery to do technically, but it's easier on the patient. So you don't get this because patients love to tell you they were in the OR for 12 hours because it tells you how bad things were.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, yes, yes.
It must have been awful because it took him 2 days to do my surgery. And
then here you go and do a 1-hour surgery. The problem goes away, but they don't see that the peak of an iceberg, what is underneath.
yes,
Do that surgery in an hour and make the pain go away. Yeah.
but we're supposed to be, as surgeons, we're supposed to be satisfied that we did a complicated task and made it look easy. But it's such a human nature to want that feather, or that accolade of, man, I did this complicated surgery and you just about died, and we saved your life 3 times, and look how great you're doing now.
Yeah. Whereas if you don't even let them get to the point that they 3 times died,
right,
that is should be the policy or status that we desire to be.
I think that's going to happen.
Natural.
I think as we get more and more efficient at data collection, we're going to have to at some point acknowledge that surgeon A's TLIF is not the same as surgeon B's TLIF is not the same as surgeon C's TLIF. Just because it's the same surgery doesn't mean it was done as well and as efficiently. And as we start to gather that data, and some of the insurance companies are already doing that, Humana has their gold star surgeons. The point being, things like OLIF are going to gain more value because you don't get honored for doing a complicated surgery that is dramatic. You get honored for doing a complicated surgery that looks like it's no big deal.